G'day everyone, just hopefully a bit of a quicker video this time as I attempt to once again get back into my little XL250 project, which has been sitting for far too long. So I thought today I might just do a little bit of a stock take on what I've got, go through all the countless boxes of bits of this motorbike, see what I've got, sit and wear, make up a big old list of what I need to buy, what I need to do, and then we'll go from there and get stuck into it properly. Let's have a look at what we got. Okay, so I got two main stashes of parts and a couple other bits and pieces here and there. Obviously I got the frame and the tank and the seat and that there, which normally lives in the corner. Then I've got the bottom end of the motor sitting on the bench here under this blanket. And then I've also got a whole bunch of boxes here, which has most of the motor and other bits and pieces. And then I've got this dirty great box here, which is just full of other bits and also some XR250 side covers. So let's go hunting. Box the first, what have we got in here? Engine mounts, chain guard, homemade chain guard, which looks like it's been rubbing against something, pegs, bolts, most of the ignition barrel. So I can make a new key for this, but the big trouble is I don't have the switch mechanism. A problem for later. More engine mounts. Kickstarter. Not much else. Box number 2. Alternator. Pretty decent condition. And a side cover. Also pretty clean. A box of electrics. And a brake pedal. And an XR250 clutch lever. More electricals. Kill switch in half decent condition. CDI box. Flasher can, wiring harness, breather thingy gazantipede. Not much of note in there. This is not from this bike. 2 camshafts, I think one's for an XR200 and one's for an XL250. And an assorted bunch of, I think, XR200 bits. Not of much use to us at the moment. Interesting bits. Piston. Old gasket, old oil filter, flywheel, particularly filthy barrel, let's see if you can see down it. What do I do with my torch? There's a bit of light scoring in there. It doesn't look too bad. It's for the old factory piston. A bit of wear on the skirts, but otherwise it's not too bad. It's interesting, it's a bit mangled up around the exhaust ports there. and cam chain tensioner. So whilst I've been in here, I've been just taking some top end measurements. I just want to check on things. So I measured the bore, and that's just in spec. I just took some very casual measurements just with the you call them telescopic gauges and my good set of verniers, which is, yes, I know it's not how you measure a bore, but it's close enough. And yeah, this is just inside spec, so you could reuse it, but I'll likely go and have this bored out to the next size up, just to, you know, do it proper. And the piston, as I suspected, the diameter of that's way out of spec. The rings are still good though. But yeah, it's going to have to be replaced. Got my proper original workshop manual, which makes life a hell of a lot easier. Well, mostly it's a little bit different because it's an American one, for example. It's only got a drum brake up the front instead of a disc brake. But it's a good thing to have. And in this box, old gasket, oil pipe, cam chain, which I should probably replace, rocker cover. You can see that the tappet arms look to be in pretty reasonable condition. A little bit of wear in there, but they still seem to have their shape, so it's encouraging. And a camshaft, which is got some interesting wear on the old, what do you call it? That's the tacho drive. I don't have a tacho for this. I actually put it on another one of the bikes, so we might just be able to ignore that and just go to a digital tacho. Cam lobes look alright to my untrained eye. And yes, it's got a proper bolt and a Bunnings bolt. Jolly good show. Cylinder head. This is the intake boot for the carbies. This will be, I want to have a bit of a play around with this because the trouble is the rubber on these guys rock hard and then it cracks and breaks, and that ain't no good because I don't want to have to go custom fabricating one of these or buying a new one because they cost an arm and a leg. I think I bought one for about 160 bucks a few years back. But there are ways that you can soften rubber like this if it is the right stuff I'm thinking of. So we'll give that a go at some point because I'll also need to soften the snorkels on the airbox to try and get them sorted out. There's a few bolts in there and also, a little bit filthy, but it's not too bad. And otherwise can't see much horror in here. There's a little bit of a split on this bolt hole, which is, This bike's had a pretty rough go of it by the hand of its previous owners, which you'll see when we get stuck back into the motor over there. And the last one of these boxes, switch block. Bit faded, but all the important stuff's there. What I think I would like to try and do is maybe model up something and have a new switch here 3D printed, because all the actual that bit's still intact, so I've got a slot for it, so I just need to design that shape and have something that'll just slot down in there. Certainly cheaper than buying a new switch block, just for one little slidey bit. Ignition switch surround, horn, the speedo, which is a grand total of 19,402 kilometres on it. It's like a brand new one. But wait, there's more. I almost worried myself for a minute there because I realised I didn't know where many carburetors were. But I found this box buried amongst other boxes. So what have we got in here? Mirrors. Not mirrors, it's actually bolts for the side covers. Good, wouldn't want to lose them. A sprocket of some description, probably from the starter gears or something. A thing. That is off the Kickstarter. That's a mirror mount. And here we go. I actually cleaned these up years ago. They're in reasonably good condition still. Bit of slop in the slide for that primary though, which I don't like, but not much I can do without that at the moment. Well, I could get it sleeved, but that's a bit outside of the budget, I think. Otherwise, it's all there and working. I will need to find a workaround for this idle adjustment screw. But those are the carbies. And yes, for those of you not familiar with the XRs and the XLs, the around 84, 85, Honda decided it'd be a brilliant idea to have two carbies for one cylinder. Which apparently does give you a bit of a performance increase if you tune them right and you keep them looked after, but otherwise they're really more trouble than they're worth. Alright, now we're in the big box of stuff. I've got two of these front fairings, neither of which are very healthy. This one broke off in the middle of a trail ride. And this one is the one that actually came off that bike, but it's also falling apart. But this is still mostly all together, so I'm going to have a crack at fiberglassing this back together and see how it looks like. You can get new ones of these still from Honda. They're slightly different, but it's basically the same design on the XR650L, which they still make. So you can get one of them, which I did for the other bike. Handlebars, nothing special about them. I'll probably bend those back into shape rather than buying new ones. Exhaust pipe, all still in one piece. Bash plate. Rear mudguard, wrong colour, so I want to track down a white one of these. Original chain guard. Headlight. I might see if I can get an LED bulb or something for that, because these old incandescent ones aren't much good. Brake master cylinder. I'll have to get a rebuild kit for this. I need to get a new lens for the sight glass, and I'll probably have to have it bored and sleeved as well, because I've got the other barn find bike that I've got, same thing, and I've got basically no front brakes because I'm fairly certain it's just all a pitting in the bore there that doesn't work anymore. Side covers, which are in the process of being cleaned up. You can see what this one originally looked like. It was not the best colour. Heat shield for the exhaust headers. Brake caliper. exhaust headers. This interests me because these are the wrong colour. These should be black. So either they've been painted at some point in the past, or somebody's put headers from a later model bike on. We may never know. Triple clamps. I've got bearings for them to put on. I'll paint this at some point. Nothing exciting there. Ugh. Airbox. As you can see, this thing's pretty feral. Now these snorkels here is part of why I don't really like the two carby setup very much. As these get old, these get stiff, it becomes a real pain in the dingus to get the airbox and the carbies out. Because these should have a bit of movement and just spread around the rear shock, but they don't. They get all stiff and horrible, so we'll experiment with stiffening them up. Not stiffening them, softening, that's the word. They're already too stiff. The old air filter's just crumbling to nothing. Now, I feel like somebody's had these snorkels off at some point in the past, probably to try and get the carbies out, because shouldn't have dropped that, that's just exploded all over my bench. There should be a fine mesh in there, which I believe is just a spark arrestor or something to stop you setting fire to the oil in your airbox or something, I guess, but that's all been punched out by the looks of it. You can see that that's all been a bit squished in there, so that's something for a future episode. Yeah, it's yuck. Luggage rack. Not much to say about that, it's a rack. Battery bracket. And not much else in there aside from a bunch of cables that I can't be bothered pulling out. Aha, the top triple tree bearing. It's a bit rooted. Change your bearings, guys. Almost forgot. I got started on cleaning up the forks, so this is how they were when I pulled them off the bike, because I haven't started this one. Nice and grubby and oxidised. This is one where I've spent just a little bit of time with some wet and dry. And depending on the angle and the light, yeah, it's coming up alright. This is the outside face, so this is the side that actually matters. Nice and shiny. I'm not going to go too heavily on these. There's some deep pitting in here and I'm not restoring the bike, I'm just cleaning it up, so just want to get it looking respectable. Okay, so I think that'll about do for now. The question is, where do we go from here? So I am thinking I want to get the frame painted, that way I'll have a central thing to put everything else that I'm working on back onto, rather than just stacking everything in boxes again, because I don't really want to do that. So in order to do that, I need to pull the rest of it apart, because I want to paint the swing arm as well, and also, before I go painting anything, I want to go rip these dints out of the fuel tank. So I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do that yet. Maybe slide hammer, who knows, we'll see. But that's something for later on in the week. So yeah, thank you very much for listening to my rambling, and I'll see you next time.